Good morning. Thank you for all being here today, and welcome to any of you watching live on HSTA's Facebook page. The Hawaii State Teachers Association is proud to recommend Sherry Campagna for election to Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District. Sherry has been a strong advocate for education as well as human and civil rights. Sherry was one of the national organizers and Hawaii's state chair for the Women's March that organized 30,000 people across Hawaii last year to take action on women's rights. Currently, she is a commissioner on the Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women and has fought for paid family leave. She has also been an ally with HSTA in the fight to get more funding for public education. She believes that a reliable funding stream for public education must be a top priority, and Hawaii should tax out-of-state residents who own investment properties here. She also believes in lowering class size and increasing teacher pay. Sherry has stood by unions and believes strongly in collective bargaining rights, as well as the fight to increase the minimum wage for workers. Sherry is an environmental scientist, small business owner, and a mom. Sherry has been an agent for social change her entire adult life, advocating for racial justice, environmental issues, and women's rights while fighting class disparities. The incumbent in the 2nd Congressional District, U.S. Representative Tulsi Gabbard, has not defended human and civil rights during her time in Congress. After Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator, used chemical weapons as a genocidal attack on his own people, the entire Congress, except for 3 people, condemned the act, and only 1 Democrat refused. That was Tulsi Gabbard. After the attack, Gabbard traveled to Syria to meet with the genocidal dictator al-Assad without permission from the White House or Congress. And that trip was funded by a group with ties to al-Assad, and she only covered the expenses herself after the news media disclosed who paid for the trip. Then after Bashar al-Assad used genocide on his people again by bombing them with chemical weapons, Gabbard continued to refuse to admit that the attack had occurred. At the same time, she voted to practically ban Syrian refugees from coming into the United States after the Paris terrorist attacks, even though Syrian refugees were not involved in the attacks. HSTA strongly believes in high-quality schools for all children, as well as human and civil rights. We believe that Sherry Campagna will fight for the equality for all people, and that is why HSTA is proud to support Sherry Campagna for Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District. Sherry.
Aloha, everyone. The first step onto any new path should always be paved with gratitude. I am grateful for those that support me. I am grateful to those who work alongside me. And I am, of course, grateful to those that paved the path. Thank you so much for having me here today. And let me tell you that I deeply respect you for all the work you do, and I am sincerely grateful for the support I have received today. Me ka ha'aha'a. As Corey said, my name is Sherry Alu Campagna, and I am a scientist, a business owner, a commissioner, a mom, a foster mom, an activist, an advocate, and an ally. I'm also a proud graduate of public schools. I know what you all know, and that is that the path to social justice is paved in our classrooms. Minds are opened, gifts are revealed, and opportunity is realized. It is incumbent upon all of us, teachers and parents and leaders and advocates, to ensure that we have fully funded public schools, to ensure that our schools, our teachers, our students, and their families not only survive, but that they thrive. In March of this year, I had the opportunity to speak on a forum that was hosted by the Labor Caucus, the Native Hawaiian Caucus, and the LGBT caucus. Other congressional candidates were able to join me on that stage to discuss the issues, but Congresswoman Gabbard was unable to attend. It is my sincere hope that a similar opportunity presents itself in the near future. In order for us to move forward as a healthy and thriving community, and in order for us to sustain the democracy that we believe in, we must have true, fair, open discourse. And I welcome that opportunity. We need, as a people, to be able to move forward together, unbought, unlimited, and unafraid. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions from the media? Yes.
Corey, has Tulsi Gabbard done nothing for public education in the state since she served?
I wouldn't say that she's done nothing. She has. I think that when we're coming to this recommendation process, it's not just looking at just what you've done for public education, but a broader scope of what you've done for human and civil rights. And I think on the issue of human and civil rights, that Representative Gabbard has shown that she has out of the norms, not only for Hawaii, but actually for the entire Congress. She has voted consistently against things that are just basic common sense when it comes to protection of human rights. And I think that was the bigger factor.
Sherry, what would you have done differently?
A great example of what I would have voted for differently would be the NDAA. The NDAA is the National Defense Acquisitions Act. It is basically the housekeeping budget, or if you will, the kitchen table budget for the Department of Defense. As you know, here in the state of Hawaii, our economy, one of the stools upon which our economy rests is the Department of Defense budget that we receive. In that budget includes funding for our public school systems, because the military allows their dependents to use our public school systems rather than create a redundancy and develop their own. So Tulsi voted against that funding, and I would have voted for it.
Sherry?
Yes.
You said that you graduated from Hawaii Public Schools. How have you been affiliated with the public schools since then?
I should actually clarify. It wasn't Hawaii Public Schools at the time. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and so I graduated from a public high school there. My father graduated from McKinley, and my mother is Farrington. As a foster mom and as a parent of 4 children, I have been involved in public schools a great deal. Every child is different, and every school responds to their needs a little bit differently. And so I've had children in public schools, charter schools, Christian private schools, and then non-secular private schools as well. So.
Sherry, can you tell us why the voters should choose you over Tulsi in this election?
Because you will never wonder where I stand on the issues, and you will never wonder what I'm turning my hand to on any business day. That I make the issues of Hawaii my #1 priority, and I will always be here for us.
Corey, you mentioned the importance of human and civil rights as far as not endorsing Gabbard this time around. Why is her involvement with Syria and her visit there relevant to the teachers here in Hawaii and the teachers' union's interests?
When a dictator uses genocide against his own people, and almost all the Democrats in Congress, almost all the Republicans in Congress, condemn the attack. And there was only one Democrat that refuses to condemn the attack. It wasn't just the Hawaii State Teachers Association, but national leaders across the entire country that started to question Representative Gabbard's judgment and question even Hawaii of why we would re-elect her. I think that we cannot, when looking at issues, only focus on one thing. And when it comes to something like human and civil rights, I would ask any voter to spend 10 minutes to Google Tulsi Gabbard in Syria and take a few minutes to read. And if they read after 10 minutes and they agree, then that's their decision. But I think most of the people in Hawaii, when they read about some of the positions she has taken, do not believe that those are the values of the people of Hawaii. They are not the values of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. And frankly, they are not the values we should have for our keiki.
Corey, you said that you have a recommendation process. What brought Sherry to your guys' attention to be able to support her? Did someone come up to you? Did she approach you herself?
The Hawaii State Teachers Association is a very democratic organization. And in each step of the way, we asked for input from our members. Then we interviewed all of the candidates. We have a government relations committee that requires a 2/3 vote to recommend it to our board of directors, who represents 12 chapters across the state. And then those leaders from the Hawaii State Teachers Association then have to make a recommendation. And in that process, we also recommend it to the National Education Association, who has to approve the process as well. So we've had many teacher voices from not just Hawaii, but across the nation in support of this decision. And we believe that this is the best decision for Hawaii.
Corey, have you guys endorsed Tulsi previously before?
We have, yes.
Okay.
But I think that after seeing this continued lack of fighting for human and civil rights, that I think that this was, for our members across the state, enough was enough. And one of the things I want to point out too, it wasn't just an anti-Tulsi vote. We were very proud of the fight that Sherry has had for education in Hawaii. She has come out in support of our constitutional amendment. That mattered to our members. She has led in Hawaii the fight for women's rights. And I think it was a combination of seeing her be an advocate for those things and a strong advocate, that was a determining factor for a lot of our members.
Sherry, what are the most important issues facing the public schools these days that you can share with us, that you believe in?
So for me, it is about, it begins with making sure that we have a consistent, reliable, sustainable funding stream for our public education. Without the ability to have a sustainable, dependable funding stream, we can't really plan ahead. Our teachers can't really plan ahead. In a way, they're sort of hamstrung from the starting line. And we need to ensure that that never stops, that they always have that to count on. It will only strengthen us going forward.
What do you plan to do to lobby for a more reliable funding stream?
Well, right now, here in the present day, it's all about making sure that voters vote for this constitutional amendment. We have already started to see a little bit of noise against the constitutional amendment, and I would urge everyone who's listening to trust me, Google it, read about it, educate yourself, and learn about how important this constitutional amendment is, and find out what the backstory on why it has been resisted for so long exists. We can't buy into whatever noise is created between now and this vote, distract us from the fact that we need this Con-Am. Yeah, so that's where I am today. Yeah, just grassroots.
Sherry, why now? What has made you decide to run right now?
Right, so I never wanted to be a politician, and I clearly am not a politician. I have always had a place in my heart for advocacy and activism, and I enjoyed the freedom that came with that. I always thought that being a politician would be too constraining, and it was through the guidance of some strong mentors, strong women around me, through Women's March, through the YWCA, and on the commission, that I realized that it was time now to step forward, that in Hawaii, especially in Congressional District 2, where it's a rural population, where we have the worst access to choices in education, choices in healthcare, and choices in our jobs, that it was time for someone to have the courage to stick their neck out and fight for these day-to-day issues that trouble us the most.
This endorsement is quite honorable. What's next for you?
This endorsement is groundbreaking. I haven't really been able to even process what this means to me. It's been a lot. The very next thing for me actually is a team meeting to let everybody know how grateful I am for everything that they've done to get us to this place. To be the dark horse, the challenger, the outsider that literally rose from the grass, and to be acknowledged for that work by the HSTA is truly profound.
How do you feel going up against one of Hawaii's most popular politicians? Like, are you?
So I get asked that a lot, And I don't think of myself as going up against Congresswoman Gabbard. I think of myself as doing what I have always done, which is fighting for the people. And instead of just doing it on the ground, I'm going to be doing it here and on Capitol Hill. One of the things that I have always been good at, and you can ask any activist who's worked with me over the past decade, one of the things that I am very good at is holding space for those who have needs, holding the door open. I don't ever claim to have all the answers, but by God, I can connect you to someone who helps you with what you need. And by God, I can hold that door open and let you through.
Is that it? No more questions?
Okay. Thank you then. So thank you again for coming, and thank you for those of you that are on Facebook Live. Please remember to vote in the Democratic primary. And again, it is our proud recommendation, and I hope you will all vote for Sherry Campagna in August. Thank you all so very much.